The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. A very happy Tuesday to everybody out there. Ben Anderson rolling solo today. Let's welcome in our next guest. He covers the NBA as a league. He's also the author of Tanking to the Top and a Hollywood Ending the Dreams and Drama of the LeBron Lakers. It's Yaron Weitzman. What's going on, Yaron?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing terrific. I do want to talk some big picture NBA. We've been very focused on the Jazz here locally, obviously, and it's been an exciting week with the addition of Jaren Jackson Jr., but big picture in the NBA, I thought there was actually some interesting news that was right up your alley last night that maybe not everybody saw, but when asked after the Lakers fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder, kind of what they thought happened, LeBron said, well, you're comparing us to a championship team. He says, and we're clearly not a championship team. And I do think that's kind of an interesting, not resignation from LeBron, but, you know, admittance that this Lakers team is not going to get to the top again with he and Luka, and clearly the Lakers are going to move towards Luka. That's the right decision at this point. But how do you think that changes the next 25, 30 games for the Lakers and then the playoffs?
I mean, how it changes, I don't know. Like, they're going to keep trying to win games. You know, most teams, unlike half the NBA, which I guess we'll talk about at some point, but they'll keep trying to win games. I did find it pretty interesting, hilarious, and just I think LeBron enjoys sort of tweaking the front office a little bit. And he's aware, and I think I've talked about this when the book came out. Like, he's very aware. He has no problem with the idea of Luka being the guy. Like, LeBron is pretty self-aware, at least in terms of that stuff. And he knows that Luka's better than him now. I do think it probably frustrates him a little bit that the Lakers haven't gone all in to try to maximize his final year. And the stuff with LeBron, I always think, and I feel guilty of this too, like when we talk about him and sort of, you know, last year out of a has-been and all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, all true. He's also still really good. So, yeah, he's not a top 5 player, but he's a top 25 player. And the Lakers have knowingly basically punted before the Luka trade. They punted 2 years of his prime, of his final years, I should say. And that was strange. I think LeBron's still annoyed about this. I do think it's sort of this Cold War that's been taking place between LeBron, the front office, and last night, those comments were just sort of one last, barb from him.
Yeah, I guess, is that what you said, one last? Do you think that's going to be the last, or do you think this is going to be the theme? I mean, again, what does he have to lose? They didn't trade him. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the summer. It seems like this marriage is about to end, and I don't think his career is going to end. And LeBron holds the biggest stake in the NBA. I mean, he is still the biggest power broker.
No, it's a good point, and the last one. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good question, and I do think he's sort of enjoying this aspect of being the candid old man a little bit, right? And I can say whatever I want, partly because of his stature, partly because he's 41. And like, why can't he admit what we all see is that the Lakers are not as good as the Thunder and not a legitimate championship contender as constructed? I also think that's part of it, right? Like, two things can be true. It's not LeBron saying that they're not going to try. It's just in being honest about where the season will likely end. And I kind of respect that.
Is there going to be a happy ending here? I mean, they're not going to win a title, but is the ending of the LeBron run in L.A. going to be comfortable? Is it going to be smooth? Is it going to be, a mutual departure?
It's a great question. What I will tell you is nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure somebody knows. You know what I mean? Like LeBron and whoever else knows. But people removed from that don't know. And Rich Paul, if he knows, doesn't talk about it with anybody. Like, if people aren't aware, it sort of seems like we're heading for a ending here, and the Lakers have been seemingly waiting for him to say, I'm done. I'm done for a while. I always joke, Rob Pelinka in his preseason press conference was asked about LeBron, and his quote was, we'd love to see LeBron finish his story here. And I always add, what he left out was, and we hope that story ends right now, right? Like, they're kind of done with it. The question becomes where are we going? And that's where it gets a little weird. Everyone knows teams, Cleveland, Lakers, that's probably it, honestly. Maybe Golden State, maybe. Like, that would be one if you want to do it. You can kind of see it. Other than that, though, it's hard to figure out where you go. And so just the question to me becomes, like, does LeBron decide, you know what, I'll play on the mid-level or minimum, and I don't want to move my family if I'm not ready to retire yet. But the other aspect of this is the Lakers have new ownership, and none of us know how they plan on handling this situation or how they would handle this situation. So that's the other curveball here that I'm kind of unsure about.
All right, Yaron, you wrote a book called Tanking to the Top. It was about the Philadelphia 76ers and the quote-unquote process. But it's only grown worse in the NBA. Now, maybe not to the level that an individual team is doing what the 76ers did, but more teams are dabbling, and to the point where, honestly, there might be 14 teams, 12 teams in the NBA over these final 25 games of the season that are actively not all that interested in winning games. How serious do you think the NBA is about fixing this? How big of a problem do you think this actually is?
I think it's a huge problem, and I would say push back politely the idea that no teams are doing it as, aggressively as the Sixers. Like, I was talking about it to somebody today. I don't know. We use the Jazz, for example. We've seen front offices tank. I don't know if we've seen coaching staff and star players on board the way, to the extent that we're seeing this now, right? Like, we have Will Hardy last night saying he wasn't going to put guys in. Like, that's new. The Nets, look at the Nets as an example, right? The Nets tank, but they sort of have to, Jordy Fernandez proof their roster to the idea that, like, he's going to try to win every game, so they have to give him a G League roster. Or someone like Lauri Markkanen seemingly willing to punt 3 years of his prime for some hope of a better future. So I think it's a huge problem, and it's starting off earlier now than we've ever seen. Like, we haven't even reached the All-Star break, and you can't find – if you could find one game every night featuring two teams trying to win, that feels like a win, right? So it's a huge problem. I think we're going to hear Adam Silver does a press conference at the All-Star weekend always. I think this is going to be a huge subject, and I think he's going to be hammered on it pretty hard, pretty aggressively. And I do think it's something the NBA needs to address.
Is it fixable?
That's a great question. So the sport, basketball by the nature of the sport is, it lends itself to tanking because there's no other equivalent of where one player can have such an impact on the team. It's almost like, I guess quarterback would be the greatest comparison we could think of, but, they play half the game, and it's 11-on-11. So it's fixable. I don't know if you'll ever fix it completely. I always feel like, it's a bit of a cop-out, but I always say, it's not my job to fix it. Like, they have people in the league office whose jobs these are to literally think of ideas and ways around this. I don't think you'll ever completely get rid of it, but there are things you can do. A good example is this, right? One of the fixes, not for tanking, but one of the measures the league put in recently to help address the lack of players tuning up was this idea that, like, for national championship games, right, the player participation policy, right? So if a team is on national TV and a star doesn't play, they get fined. So we've seen this happen with Cleveland and other teams. If you think about it, though, that does nothing to address tanking because teams like the Jazz and Wizards, the Bulls, whatever, these teams are not on national TV, right? The Nets. So you're absolving them from that policy. And basically, it becomes more hypocritical because you're punishing the teams who are trying to win, who rest the guy, as opposed to ignoring what's going on in the bottom third or now half of the league. So is it fixable? Like, not completely, but I think there's a vast middle ground that we've gone too far to one extreme.
I have tanking exhaustion 360 degrees. I mean, it's tired of watching the Jazz doing it. It's tired of trying to explain why because right now the truth is the strategy and the rules of the NBA reward it. So what am I getting mad at the Jazz for? They're doing what the league says they should be doing. I mean, like you said, you get the one player, it changes everything. So why would they not do that? On a big picture, you zoom out far enough, it is the right move towards winning, even if it means taking some losses here. So I'm a little exhausted talking about it and how to fix it, et cetera. So what do those other 14 teams do over these final 25 games of the season, or 16 teams that are trying to make the playoffs? What is the biggest storyline, you think, after the All-Star break in the NBA outside of tanking?
I mean, there's a couple. The Knicks, just there's a lot of pressure there. They fired Thibodeau. It basically means like championship or bust, which is a hard bar to clear. And they have a lot of high-priced veterans, and they have an owner who is famously reactionary. So you talk about a big market team with lots of pressure. That's one certainly that I'd be paying attention to. I'm also Tatum, whether he comes back and what the impact would be on the Celtics. That's another big one for me. I'm also curious to see I think the Western Conference playoff battles can be really fun if we have those teams healthy. Like, I think we can get a really, really awesome second round of playoffs and on. If you have teams like the Thunder and Spurs and Nuggets and Rockets and Lakers and all these other teams sort of battling it out. So to me, those are some of the major ones for sure. And then obviously we have to all wait, and then we'll be on Giannis watch in, again, was it 3 months from now, 4 months now? We'll start all over again.
Yeah,
naturally.
speaking of exhausting stories. Yeah, can't wait for that one.
Exactly.
The East, we focus on the West, and the East is a little bit of a running joke, hence the Jazz beating the Miami Heat, who are going to easily make the playoffs, and the Jazz are trying to lose a game, and the Heat can't get a victory. And the same could be said of Orlando, and the Jazz have beaten Cleveland already, and they've beaten Boston already this year. Like, it's not a banner year for the Eastern Conference. With that said, you look forward, and, like, there might not be a more fun story right now in the NBA than the Charlotte Hornets, minus the brawl they got into last night.
Yeah.
We might be steamrolling towards a James Harden-led Cleveland Cavaliers team facing off against Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. Like, that's going to be an awesome series. Jason Tatum is apparently back with the Celtics G League team. The Pistons are one of the most fun teams in the NBA. The Eastern Conference actually might kind of have a cool playoff series this year.
No, I actually built it. I completely agree. I think in general, I think the playoffs are going to be a lot of fun. I think the NBA cannot wait for the playoffs to start, right? So you can focus on the product. And that, again, not to go back to tanking, that kind of relates to it. That one, like there are some really interesting, fun storylines happening in the league now. A lot of young players in the rise who we're going to see if they have their playoff moments, whether it's Victor or Kate Cunningham, guys like that. The Hornets are a ton of fun. Like I was excited to put that Pistons-Hornets game on last night. I live in New York at 7 o'clock. Like I joke to the 7 o'clock tip-off, I guess 5 o'clock your time, right? That's an abyss usually. It's usually Hornets, Wizards, Heat, who am I forgetting? All these junky Eastern Conference teams, right? And
a lot of Brooklyn games.
Yeah, Brooklyn, yeah. So to have a Hornets game at 7, and like I was like genuinely excited. And then you put it on and you saw the excitement. I don't know if anyone watched it, but if you watched the first half, I mean, even into the brawl, clearly, like the excitement that fans had for that game, that was matched by the players very clearly. Like everyone was into that, and it was a ton of fun. So I do think the playoffs are going to be a blast. I certainly agree, and I think it's going to be a cool, or we have, I don't want to say changing the guard, but either we're having a budding dynasty with the Thunder, or we're going to have somebody new emerge, and I think that's a lot of fun when we see that happen.
It does feel like the West, a lot of the focus right now is on 3 teams. Obviously, the reigning champion, Thunder. The Spurs have seemingly had their number this season, some of them without Shea. One of them, the NBA is actually looking at the Thunder to see if they were not tanking, but resting too many guys in a big game. They're being investigated today. And then, of course, the Nuggets, who have been revolutionary minus last night's loss and still seem very competitive. Let me ask, is there a team outside of those 3 that you think could upset the apple cart and could actually come out of the West?
Come out of the West? I mean, Houston's offense has looked like garbage recently. I don't buy it. I think in the playoffs that's going to be hard. Their entire offense seems to be either Kevin Durant hit a contested jumper or Steven Adams go get the offensive rebounds. Steven Adams is out now, so that's a problem. Minnesota, I don't see it. I know some other people kind of are. I think other people are higher than me. To me, I just don't see the talent is there, and they're a little funky, and not having a point guard is not great. Anthony Edwards, though, is one of these guys who, like, he can be the best player in a 7-game series, no matter who they're playing, right? That's in the cards. So that's a possibility. But to me, it's one of the other 3 those would be one of those 3. I'd be stunned if one of those 3 doesn't emerge and represent the West in the finals.
You can find him on Twitter at Yaron Weitzman. You can read his books, Tanking to the Top, about the Philadelphia 76ers, and A Hollywood Ending, the dreams and drama of the LeBron Lakers. Yaron, great stuff. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
There he is, Yaron Weitzman. You can also find him online, yaronweitzman.com. Good stuff there. Interesting run here. Again, the tanking is a major issue. The Jazz are going to suffer through it for the next 30 games. They are going to get out of this mess, and then the NBA is going to seriously try to address it, and I think it's going to be another part of Danny Ainge's legacy. As much as I don't blame Danny Ainge for what the Jazz are doing, I do think the NBA, for some reason, is going to blame Danny for tanking and making aggressive steps. At least the narrative is going to be that this was a Danny-led thing, and the Jazz are going to quickly skate out of the tanking racing right as the league starts to be more aggressive about enforcing some of their policies. Hey, coming up on Thursday, you can join JJ and Alex at the RV show from 3 to 6 at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. It's your opportunity to shop, compare, and buy the RV of your dreams, but they have way more than just RVs, camping equipment. Maybe you want to rough it. Maybe you just like your traditional tent. They have things for you as well. Go check out the RV show this Thursday, 3 to 6 at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Cole Bagley joins us in studio. Coming up next, stick around. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G tomorrow. The Minky Couture store in Layton from noon to 3. The best blanket ever is also the best Valentine's gift ever. Go join Scotty at Minky Couture. You can also use the promo code ZONE50 in store. Get 50% off and online, minkycouture.com. It is Tuesday at 11:30. That means we love to talk to one of our favorite guests. Lucky to have Mr. Cole Bagley in studio as we talk Olympics and NHL and the U.S. men's and women's hockey team. What's going on, Cole?
Yeah, it's a great time for hockey. I'm supposed to be on a break, but not
there's
really.
No such thing. No, you're a sports writer. No such thing. I don't know what to tell you.
Christian, was that Wooly Bully coming out of break?
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
Uh-huh.
That's a good touch.
Yeah, that's my job.
Christian knows what he's doing. All right, well, let's talk big picture Mammoth before we get into the Olympics, if that's all right.
Sure.
Nice close to the first half of the season before this Olympic break. Kind of came off the rails. The Carolina loss was really painful. I thought bouncing back and getting their last 2 victories here at home was maybe the best sign of growth we've seen from this team in the 2 years where they ride these waves high and low way too dramatically. So to have maybe their biggest piece of adversity that they faced, like closing that road trip so poorly, to bounce back and win 2 games, I thought was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a game that in their inaugural season they completely come off the rails, right? They lose in that fashion. It stings for far too long, and they fail then to win a get right game against Vancouver and then probably lose to Detroit. But instead, they like you said, I think the maturity that we're seeing is that they're allowing those types of games to become battle scars and sting just enough to the point where, yeah, they know that they messed up. They understand that cannot happen again, and then they correct themselves. They immediately correct themselves and get back on track. That's what playoff teams do, not only in the NHL but in the NBA and every league, right? Like, you have a bad loss, you immediately have to rebound and come back stronger, and that's what they did. They took advantage of the worst team in the National Hockey League. Not just won by like a goal or two. Like, they let the Canucks have it. I think they won 6-2 in that game. And then to come in against Detroit and sweep Detroit. They beat them in Detroit, and then they beat them here at Delta Center in really impressive fashion. And the biggest difference that I've noticed that allows the Mammoth to really get themselves right is coming out of the gate with energy. When they have a really good and strong first period, they win most of those games. I think they're 13-4-1 when leading after the first period. So, and that's not rocket science. That's not like, oh wow, that's something unique to this. No, everybody. Usually, if you're leading in the first period, you're going to end up likely winning the hockey game. But for Utah, it's taken a lot of maturity to get to that point.
First 42 games of the season, Mikhail Sergachev was minus 11. His last 15 games, he's plus 12. I mean, that's a 23 goal difference or point difference with him on the floor or on the ice, I should say. Between the first 42 and the last 15, it does feel like you're feeling him finally, where he seemed like a pretty big negative after being one of the best players on the team last year. Yeah,
him and Dursey were struggling for a while. Like, they were one of the worst defensive pairings in the National Hockey League in terms of plus minus. And, I had inquired about this, kind of asking some people, hey, what's going on with 98? And not that they made excuses for it, but they kind of looked at it in terms of, all right, this guy, since day one, since he put on a Utah sweater, has led us in minutes, playing a ridiculous amount, 25, 26, sometimes 27 minutes a game. That's almost half the hockey game, and that's not usually normal. I mean, your top guys are usually skating 23, 24, maybe 25. So to be pushing 30, that's a pretty heavy amount of minutes to have to bear. And then he still had a number of goals, a number of assists and points, and so he was contributing. But kind of what they pointed out to me was, look, this guy has carried so much for us. He's been the defensive anchor, and so we can't really. Not that they're looking the other way, but they really couldn't blame him for maybe not necessarily playing tired, but not necessarily having the best numbers.
Yeah.
And he's turned it around. And I think the biggest thing for him is he's playing with passion again. And I think for Sergachev, the fact that this team is playing so well, the fact that I think they've won 12 or 13 of their last 16 games, that's a big deal. He likes to win. And I think when the team is playing well, when they're winning games, that's when you're going to see Sergachev at his best. Not that he's not going to contribute when the team is losing, but he has grown up in the NHL on a team that the standard was winning.
Right.
And not just winning regular season games, but he won several cups. The Tampa Bay Lightning are always dark horse contenders at a minimum. And for 4 or 5 years, they were not necessarily favorites every year, but a team that could win it. So, yeah, it's been a big turnaround. And I think a lot of it has to do with the vibes are good right now. They're winning hockey games, and everybody, from the forwards to the defensemen to the goaltenders, everybody has confidence and is playing well.
I am familiar with plus minus in the NBA. We were just talking about it with Sergachev and the flaws of it. For a while you looked at the plus minus. It was like, well, Mike Conley leads the NBA. It's like, well, he's on the floor with Rudy Gobert the whole time. Rudy Gobert is low-key one of the best players in the league.
Right.
Like, the Jazz were really dominant with Rudy out there. When it comes to the NHL, you look and the top 10, it's basically exclusively players from Colorado or Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, John Marino's sitting there at number 3. And like, if you were to ask even like pretty well-respected or like in-the-know Mammoth fans to name 10 players, like I don't know if John Marino makes the list.
Probably not.
So what's the deal? Well, and how much do you buy into plus minus? How much do you think when you're looking at a player's quality, how much do you buy into that?
Yeah, it's another kind of misleading stat a little bit, and not in the same manner as it is in the NBA, but in a little bit of a different manner because your best players a lot of the times are going to be stacked against the other best players in the NHL,
Yeah.
right? And when you're playing teams that can just light it up, especially for a team like Utah who plays in the Central Division against the 3 best teams in the NHL, and you're facing them more than everybody else, yeah, those numbers are going to be a little bit skewed. But I had an opportunity to sit down with John this last week before they went on break to sit down with Schmidt, his line partner. And
Yeah, because he's like top 15. Nate Schmidt's right up there as well.
Those two just quietly kind of go about their business. They're just so solid. They play a very simple game. They don't try to do anything crazy, and they're very opportunistic in their approach. So Utah likes to play a scheme where the defensemen pinch, and we've seen that quite a few times, right? Like, a puck will get played into the zone, and a defenseman will have or the defenseman will bring it into the zone. They'll have an opportunity to pinch up high, and a forward is supposed to drop back. Sometimes that has cost Utah. We've seen it with Sean Durzi. We've seen it with Sergachev. We've seen it with a handful of other defensemen. It has not cost John Marino or Nate Schmidt because they only do it when it is going to be the most effective. And a lot of times they've ended up scoring. Marino had an assist. I think it was against it was either Vancouver or Detroit where he pinched. He carried the puck into the slot, and he waited for Nick Schmaltz on the back door and just threaded one of the most beautiful passes I've seen this season right to Schmaltz. So, yeah, Marino is just he just plays a simple game, and he's not loud. He's got he's got a pretty quiet personality. He just plays his game. And it's funny because on the other end, Nate Schmidt is one of the loudest people I've ever met, but in a good way.
Yeah.
He is, I think a PR team's dream. Like
Right.
he is going to pump everybody's tires and make everybody laugh. But yeah, they're smart defensemen. And that's one of the things that Coach Torney talked to me about is that, John has just a really, really high hockey IQ. And for a defenseman, that's significant. Because it helps them to be even more effective, not only defensively, but offensively as well.
All right, last dorky stat number, and then we'll talk kind of some big picture stuff. But you look at the wild card race right now, and you look at goal differential. It's pretty stark. It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
While, the Mammoth are playing very well, 7-3-0 in their last 10, and the Anaheim Ducks are right behind them, 8-2-0. The goal differential on the season, the Mammoth are plus 26.
It's crazy.
Now, that's crazy because everybody else behind them, who's not currently in the top 6, meaning the top 3 of the Central or top 3 of the Pacific Division, everybody not just has a negative goal differential, but a 10 or larger negative goal differential. So for the Mammoth to be plus 26, what does that tell you? Are they just blowing out teams when they win? Are they actually way better than Anaheim and the Kings and Nashville? Or is there something else strange going on?
Yeah, another kind of conversation that I had with some of the front office people about 5-6 weeks ago is I asked them about that. And they're like, look, we're confident in our ability to start, not necessarily turn things around, but to start trending towards a playoff push and a playoff spot because so many of the underlying numbers, like goal differential, are in the green. But I think that the reason that they haven't done better is a lot of their losses have been 1-goal losses. And then in a lot of other situations, yeah, they've beaten a lot of teams by several goals. So when they're winning, yeah, it's not just by 1 or 2. it's by several. And then when they're losing, so many games for Utah have been decided by one goal or maybe two if an empty netter ends up going in. But yeah, this is a team, and I know that we've talked about a lot of growth, a lot of maturity, but I think they finally figured out their depth issue.
Yeah.
They're getting incredible scoring from the top line. Nick Schmaltz is having the best season of his career. Keller is playing incredibly well. Lawson Krause is having the second or third best season of his career. Yeah. And then, you go down from there and you're getting
Carcone.
Yes.
Way to go, Karks.
Yeah, you're getting
Way to get back in the game.
You're getting Kyler Yamamoto has been phenomenal over the last, couple of weeks. And the significant thing, they're only gonna get better after the Olympics. You got Logan Cooley coming back. You got Alexander Kerfoot coming back. And they've got the opportunity to, if they want, make some trades that lift their team. So, yeah, there's a lot of underlying numbers in the green, and I think that's why we've started to see this team figure it out, win as many games as they have, and push really, really hard.
Well, clearly, we cover we cover different teams, but they're owned by the same person, and that person is willing to be aggressive. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ryan will greenlight things for his teams if he thinks he trusts his front offices, but if they say it's time to go, they will go, and Jazz make a huge trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. Do you think there will be motivation to make trades, or do you think this team's playing well enough that they will ride it through the rest of the season?
Bill's mindset around trades, as long as he's been in charge, is they're always looking. Mm-hmm. They're never really sitting back going, "Nope, we're good," or "Nope, we shouldn't." It's more of, all right, let's stick our nose in there and let's see who's available. So I do think that they will be looking around, and Utah is now getting to the point in their rebuild, kind of like what we just saw with the Jazz, right? You have so many assets, you can't use all of them. And so you have to make those assets work for you in a way that's going to make your team better. That's not always, looking to the draft. That's, they coupled a bunch of picks and some young players and they got, Triple J, right? Yeah. Like he's coming in. Utah now has the opportunity to start doing that a little bit more. They did that when they acquired Mikhail Sergachev. Mm-hmm. They did that a little bit when they acquired JJ Peterka. But yeah, there's an opportunity if the right player is available. Now, one thing to remember, though, is Utah is not necessarily looking for a rental type player.
Right.
They're not looking for a guy that's on an expiring contract or maybe a two, has a year after this left.
They want foundational pieces.
Exactly. They want guys that are going to help them long term. Now that, in my mind, that's why they made the Peterka deal, right? A 23-year-old who can come in and really grow with their young guys. Sergachev, similar thing. A guy that's starting to kind of come into the prime of his career, but he's not too old. He was 26 when they acquired him. So I think that's why. I mean, there were reports that Utah was interested in Panarin, the 34-year-old who just got traded to L.A. But I think the important thing for Utah is they don't want to get attached to guys who are either rentals or who don't really match the timeline. Now, that doesn't mean that things can't change. And I wouldn't be shocked if, maybe Utah jumps into the Nazem Kadri stakes with Calgary. But, yeah, it has to make sense, and it has to match what they're trying to accomplish. So we'll see what gets done. But, yes, I do expect for them to maybe start looking and see if they can't make a deal. And if not, it's fine. They're playing really good hockey.
Both teams satisfied with the Josh Doan Peterka trade?
Oh, yeah.
Doan's playing out of his mind.
He is.
He's playing awesome.
I know
he's kind of like a legend with the team. I mean, because of who his dad is. He's he's turned into a really good player.
I think that was a pretty even trade. And a lot of Buffalo fans will be like, well, we even got Michael Kessering. I'm like, he's just not that good of a player.
Does he have a point this year? I don't know if he does.
He's like, his ceiling is like a second pairing at best.
Yeah.
He's just okay. Yeah. But Doan.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Like Kessering.
You know what's funny? He's the only player on the inaugural team that blocked me on social media. I don't know why.
Well, that happens too. Yeah. But maybe he wasn't that nice of a guy. Yeah.
He was always cordial.
Yeah, he's nice.
And I pumped his tires a lot. Anyways, Josh Doan, I'm not surprised that this happened. An expanded role, a team that was grasping at straws, trying to find somebody to step up. Doan is traded from the team that drafted him. The legacy had kind of removed itself because, they weren't in Arizona anymore. They were in Utah. But yeah, it's been pretty even. Josh has proved that, he just got a big contract.
Right.
He's proved that he can be a guy for that team. And I think it's great for them because they've got two young, really, really good players in Tage Thompson and Josh Doan that can potentially lead them into the playoffs this year. And yeah, we'll see. But I think he's got a big chip on his shoulder. I think he looked at that and a lot of people said, man, this is a home run for Utah. What is Buffalo doing? And I think he internalized that and went, I'll show you guys.
Yeah.
And Peterka's been good. He hasn't been great. He's been good.
And, we'll see. Team's got to get to the playoffs before we probably start judging these teams too harshly. All right, let's talk Olympic hockey quickly. It does look like, at least in these early practices, we saw Friedman report that maybe Clayton Keller's not going to be in the opening night rotation. But what does that mean, and what's the likelihood he could break in?
Yeah, it's we talked about this a week or two ago. This is not unexpected. And my assumption is that Keller was one of the last few guys selected, which is okay. Like, this is a really good USA team. This is probably the best American team to ever go to the Olympics with, the Kachucks and Eichel and Hughes brothers, Austin Matthews. Like, the list goes on and on of how good this team is. And so for Keller to even make the team is a huge accomplishment. But I think the brand and the style of hockey that the United States is looking to play is kind of that bully style, with the size that they have. But then as well, they can break you down. And the United States definitely has the best defensive grouping at the Olympics and the best goaltender trio at the Olympics. So for Keller, I think the thing that he needs to do is just take advantage of being around all this good talent. If they call upon his name, which I could see, maybe he plays one.
It's a pretty physical sport. Guys get hurt.
Yeah, it is.
Step up.
That's not his style, right?
Yeah.
He's more of a finesse type guy. He's very technically skilled, but he's a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the smallest guys on the team, if not the smallest. So for him, just take advantage of being around this incredible talent. Enjoy being an Olympian. If they call on your number because they want to get you a game or two in the preliminary round, that wouldn't shock me. Or injuries happen all the time. So, we'll see how it turns out. And, there's a couple guys in that bottom six that I'm not crazy about. Like a guy like JT Miller. Maybe he doesn't perform well and they go, you know what, we're going to give Keller a shot. So we'll see how it goes. But it's still very, very exciting for the Mammoth to not only have Keller, but, 4 total players at the Olympics.
Women have dominated to the first 2 games.
They have. They have played really well.
Is there anyone going to give them a challenge? Are they going to run into stiffer competition?
Well, they're playing Canada today.
Okay.
That's 2 juggernauts.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't watched any of the women's Olympic hockey at this point, turn it on today.
Yeah.
I think it starts in 15 minutes.
Okay.
So watch that game.
They going to be selling Clayton Keller Team USA jerseys over at the team store?
No.
Can't do it or won't do it?
Nike controls the allotments.
Yeah. Fanatics.
And it's a Fanatics run team store. And what I've heard is they will not be selling any Olympic jerseys.
Huh. So you have to find those elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hot item.
Well, they've been sold out on Fanatics for a long time. Some other like Dick's Sporting Goods had some, but they're gone. I don't know. It's a tough item to try to get.
If there's money to be made, people will find a way to put it in front of you.
They will. Or DHgate.
Yeah, whatever. What do you want me to do, Christian? Jazz tickets. It is Tuesday. We want to make sure you get hooked up with Jazz tickets. Hit the sounder for me there.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the 3. He hits. Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jazz Ticket Tuesday, caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. Wins a pair of tickets to see the Jazz take on the Portland Trailblazers coming up on Thursday, the final home game before the All-Star break. It's Thursday, February 12th at Delta Center at 7 p.m. Cole's visit with us is brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Cole, thanks for coming in and geeking out on some hockey with me.
Yeah, anytime.
Cole Bagley, your Utah Mammoth Insider at KSLSports.com. We'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airwaves, talking sports. They got it made drinks and on soul. Loves his tie-dye, Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tomorrow, Win Ticket Wednesday. Your chance to go check out Brian Regan at Delta Center. Saturday, February 14th, the Valentine's night date. Get your tickets today at SeatGeek.com or listen all day tomorrow for your chance to win tickets to Brian Regan at Delta Center coming up on Saturday. Also, I want to tell you about My Hearing Centers. Join Scotty today from noon to 3 at My Hearing Centers, 8941 South, 7th East. Go see Scotty. Rolling solo today. We have our first very bizarre, well, not our first, that's a lie. Our first very strange Olympic moment. Coming courtesy, I can't find this guy's name. Norwegian Biathlete. He won the bronze medal. Biathlete, skiing, shooting guns. Right? That's biathlete. I'm just going to read you from this story. It's been translated. So don't shoot the messenger. No pun intended. In the interview with NRK, that's the company, or the outlet, says he first started by thanking everyone who has helped him on the path to his first individual Olympic medal. And then, unprompted, he makes an admission. He says, this is a quote. There's someone I wanted to share it with who might not be watching today. 6 months ago, I met the love of my life, the most beautiful and kindest person in the world. 3 months ago, I made my biggest mistake and cheated on her. And I told her about it a week ago. It's been the worst week of my life, he says tearfully in the interview. He said, I told her a week ago, and then it ended. Of course, I'm not ready to give up. I hope that committing social suicide might show how much I love her. I'm taking the consequences for what I've done. I regret it with all my heart, he says before continuing. Maybe I'm just stupid. I'm a member of the sorority, but I do stupid things. His name is Holm Laegreid. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. He says he regretted it since the day he cheated, and then he realized that this woman is the love of his life, and he can't live his whole life keeping it a secret from her. The only way to the goal is to tell everything and put everything on the table and hope she can still love him. Romantic.
Shouldn't have cheated.
First of all, there's a really easy way to avoid all of this. You don't have to commit social suicide. You're about to hit the peak of your life, and she would have loved to have been there with you. You did...
So you're saying the mistake was telling her before he went to the Olympics? He should have waited till after?
I don't know how you handle that. I don't know what the best way to do it. Yeah, do you win the gold or the bronze and then say, actually, I've got some bad news? Or is it better to tell her before? I can't believe he could stay focused.
Maybe he would have won gold if it wasn't for this on the back of his mind.
Correct. Maybe what he should say is, I sacrificed a gold medal for you. That's how much I love you. Other than the cheating stuff. So anyways, shout out to the biathlete, Holm Laegreid. And his former love of his life girlfriend. 6 months, pretty quick to be saying the love of your life, though, no?
Yeah, that's like, you hear that, with like teenagers.
Especially like you fell in love with her and you cheated on her 3 months after you. So the timeline is he meets her 6 months ago. 3 months later, he cheats on her. 3 months after that, he wins the bronze medal and realizes he's made a mistake. I don't know, man. I've not ever had that. I've had some weird interviews in my life. That's not one of them. I don't know how to cover that. Shout out to Holm.
Yeah, what is it reported? They're like, oh, man, I'm sorry. That sucks. You got this.
Now we got the gold medal winner coming up next. How's your love life? What's your girlfriend like? Well, Hans is coming up, or Hans and Scotty. Just Scotty, I guess now. Apologize. Hey, Scotty's done that a few times already as well. Scotty, coming up next, live from My Hearing Centers. Stick around. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.